So, where do you go to get the very best information on the constantly changing universe of high yield income ETFs? The important information on net asset value erosion, total returns? How about risk adjusted returns like the Sharpe ratio or the Sortino ratio? Perhaps understanding how all of these different ETFs interact with the S&P 500? Maybe the ability to create your own custom portfolio and understand what the dividends would look like and how much your portfolio would grow? Or perhaps even what are the best performing portfolios of high yield income ETFs over the trailing 12 months, the last 3 years, the last 5 years, and even the last 10 years? 135 different high yield income ETFs. I can't wait. Let's dive in. Welcome to the High Yield Income ETF dashboard and analysis. You can get access to this website and all of the future iterations that occur by joining the Average Joe Investor Option Income Academy on the school platform. If you want to learn more, check out the link down in the description below. All right, let's dive in here. We're now at 135 different ETFs. And one of the very first things you can get access to here that we're going to talk through is which ETFs have been added since we last talked about this dashboard. So we can go right here to the newest additions section. You can see we added quite a few here. Some of them were ETFs or exchange traded funds. Some of them were closed end funds, which are a little bit different. They trade more like a stock than they do an ETF. And you can hover over each one to see what the full name of it is. You can see this top number here is their current yield right now. And the number below that is the trailing 12 months total return. You can see here in the most recent update, we added 50 ETFs. That's a ton. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. We can do this first initial analysis. You can take a look at just this one section here and just these ETFs. Then we can actually do an all-up review. So if we scroll down here, you can see all these ETFs and you can sort based on, let's say, yield, right? You want to see which of these are the highest yielders. And that would be right here from Virtus, InfraCap US Preferred Stock ETF, yielding presently 9.7%. You can also see their average yield since inception, right? So obviously we know what their yield is right now, but sometimes significant yield changes can occur because of a dividend trap where the price has dropped significantly due to net asset value erosion. And you might think that it's a really strong, high-yielding ETF. Actually, it's just an ETF that's maybe in the process of failing. So we've got current yield, but we can compare that against the average yield since origination. So any differences between these numbers should be seen as a red flag. So we can see here we've got inception date. We already looked at that. We've got right here, we can look at provider. So what the distribution coverage does is it measures not only the current distributions, but also the net asset value change as well to see if that distribution is actually a lot of net asset value erosion or if it's truly a distribution that grows with the growth of the underlying ETF. We got the Sharpe ratio here, risk adjusted returns right here. We're going to talk more about just more than just Sharpe ratio, but you've got the Sharpe ratio since origination and over the trailing 12 months. You got total returns. You got much more than that, actually. You got scroll over here to the right. You've also got available income right here. So this number, available income, what this tells you is after you factor in net asset value erosion, how much income is actually available to you per $10,000 invested. Then you can also see, if we scroll down even further, what $10,000 of growth would have been since the most recent opened ETF, which unfortunately limits us in this section to April 21st of 2026, but you can still see a little bit of value out of this. So what we see here is that some of these ETFs really fall off. Remember, we started with $10,000 in April. And what is it now? July? And you got some ETFs down here like BITY from Amplify, the Bitcoin income ETF, down here lost nearly 25% of its value in this short amount of time. That's concerning. You can scroll down here. That's just the price return, obviously, no reinvestments. If you look at the total return, including dividends, you still see a little bit of concern here with some of these down here, including Baggy from Amplify, Bitcoin, Biddy from BITY from Amplify, YieldMax's Strategic Metals and Mining Portfolio Option Income, MINY. Some of these have lost a significant amount of value in just a few short months, even factoring in total returns. You can also see key metrics, right? You can see the current yield versus average yield. So like I said, any significant difference, like this one right here, Baggy, look at that. Current yield, 57. Historical yield, 33. That's a problem. If you see this one here, Biddy, same thing, 38 versus 24. That's a problem. Any significant changes between the two? Here's another one, right? DFII, current yield 27, historical yield 17.9. Both of those are high numbers, by the way. But when there are significant differences between the current and the historical yield, or the average historical yield, yield, that's a big problem. You can also see distribution coverage here. This is a problem when you see big negative numbers here. And granted, this is only for a few months, so you got to take it within some context. That's a problem. This one right here. You really want to see a number between 1 and 2x times to make sure that there's actually not significant net asset value erosion occurring. You can also look at Sharpe ratio if we wanted to. And then you can also see historically the previous set of ETFs that were added back in June. So you can look at the historical differences over time. Let's go over now. Let's go back over to our side menu. And you can see the overview in the leaderboard. So what's cool about this is you can see here of all the 135 different ETFs that are being tracked here, what the current average yield is across all of them. But if you look at the leaderboard, you can see that they're color coded. So the ETFs that are appearing in 4 or more categories, which is pretty good, a lot more balance, that's showing in green. 3 categories is in red, and then 2 categories is blue. We got trailing 12 months, which again, a ton of value you can glean from trailing 12 months. But there's some value here. You can see funds here, but you'd also want to come down here and look at distribution quality, right? Highest current yield, that's kind of important, but within the context of maybe best distribution coverage, do you see any over here that also show up over here? Would be pretty amazing. We don't see any, unfortunately. Then we've got total returns even further down. So we've got 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year. Now, what we see here is that IDVO actually shows up in both of them, right? Yield of 5.6%, value of 32% 1 year total return, a 71% 3 year total return. And unfortunately, it doesn't show up in 5 years, probably because it didn't exist for the past 5 years or within that 5 year time frame. But you can see other ETFs here. And then you've also got risk adjusted returns here. So you can see, well, which ETFs have the best Sharpe ratio, right? Which factors in up and downside volatility compared to the risk free rate and the actual profitability. Then you got Sortino ratio, which excludes the upside volatility, which makes sense. We actually like upside volatility. We don't like downside volatility. Then you got the CalMAR ratio, which factors in profitability, and the max drawdown, which can be helpful as well. And what we notice here, and then finally, of course, net asset value growth. Right? So obviously, if we get really good net asset value growth and good Sharpe returns and a good yield, that's pretty cool as well. So you've got funds over here like SOXY, which popped up quite a bit here in net asset value growth, and it shows up in the Sharpe ratio, which is really great. So that's our leaderboard. We've also got a big ETF comparison table you can take a look at. This one's not quite as helpful. I mean, it's all of the ETFs, and you can actually sort by certain different, like if you want to look at just BlackRock, that's a bad example. Let's say you only want to look at First Trust, right? So we got quite a bit from First Trust. You can take a look here and see, well, I want to look at all the First Trust and I want to see which ones have the highest yields, right? Great, you can do that right there. I want to focus on 3 additional things here, in addition to you being able to play around with this dashboard yourself if you have access. So you've got the beta in correlation compared to the S&P 500. So this is kind of cool because a lot of times when we seek diversification, we really want something that doesn't move with the S&P 500. Because otherwise, you should just sell shares and just take distributions from that. What we really want is differentiated, I think, when we talk about this, differentiated returns or outcomes to where maybe these funds don't always line up perfectly with how the S&P 500, right? Or maybe the NASDAQ 100 turns out. So what you see here is along the left side, this is our y-axis. This is the correlation with the S&P 500. So if it's 1, it moves essentially lockstep with the S&P 500. Then you've got the beta, which measures more of the magnitude, right? So you've got direction with the correlation, you've got magnitude with the beta. So a beta of 2 is going to be in the same direction, but it's going to be twice the size of the magnitude, twice the magnitude of what you would see with maybe just the S&P 500. So if you see stuff up here, you really like to see the idea of around 0 on the beta, which is great, and maybe even 0 with the correlation, which is great. So you've got USOY, which makes sense, right? That's oil. You've also got MLPI, which can be a very unique thing too. Got an 8% yield, really not aligned at all with the S&P 500. You've also got AMLP here with a really low beta and a really low correlation. Then you've got MLPD And you've also got EIPI from First Trust. So that's interesting, right? So you can take a look and see if your goal is to really diversify away from the market volatility that occurs with the S&P 500 or, the market. You can look on this end over here. If you want things that have large moves, I'm not sure if you actually would, more of a concern or red flag. You can see CHPY or SOXY, KCOP, etc. The funds up here, you can see quite a few of them line up in this range here, which means that yes, they distribute income, but they also move very much in conjunction with the market, which can be good and bad depending on how important it is to have, like I said, diversification and really a difference in outcomes. And by the way, you notice here, this is just the trailing 12 months, and you might get different outcomes if you look at trailing 3 years. Obviously, some of these are going to fall off when you do that, or maybe look at full history. But 3 years, you see a little bit different. You still see MLPI down here. You still see USOY down here, really low on both beta and correlation as well. But see, these are the ones you look at down here where you want to really diversify away from the market. And if you want near market returns, you want similar returns as the market, you just want to be able to collect income from them, then definitely want to find stuff around the one or maybe slightly below the one here and around the correlation right here with the S&P 500 up on this section here. So that's what we got going on there. Let me move over to the custom portfolio builder, which I think is a really cool feature that we added. With the custom portfolio builder, what we have the ability to do for you here, what you have the ability to do is kind of play around with it is see, okay, what are the funds either that I own in my portfolio right now, right? Maybe you've already got what you feel is a pretty strong high-yield income ETF portfolio, but you're not quite sure how things have worked out totally historically, right? Obviously, we know that historically doesn't mean that it's going to happen again in the future. Could be exactly, probably not. And so, for example, this one is the default setting here for JEPI, JEPQ, and SPYI. And this doesn't quite yet take into effect like the taxes versus like return on capital or non-qualified, qualified distributions. That's coming later. But for now, you can see, okay, let's say I'm going to own JEPI, JEPQ, and SPYI. And let's say my total investment at the starting time frame would be based on the most recent ETF that's launched. So you can actually see that when we do this. So let's say 25,000 and let's go mark in here. We'll go 33.4. And you have the ability here to rebalance monthly back to your target weights if you want to. But what you see here, let's just equal weighting. And then you also have the ability here to live on all the dividends, right? Where you're not reinvesting anything. That's fine. Or you can select reinvest all the dividends. Maybe you're still in accumulation, but you're getting ready to transition to retirement. You want these assets there to create income for you. That's fine. And in which case, you can also choose maybe a hybrid portion here, like reinvesting a portion of the dividends. And let's say you want to reinvest, I don't know, 30% of the distributions, and you're going to live on the other 70%, right? Whatever might work for you depending on your situation. And let's say you want to rebalance monthly back to your target weights. Monthly is a little bit actually excessive. I'd probably switch that over to annual, so I'll have to write that down for a future iteration. So this is the situation. You start with 25, you're reinvesting 30%. Let's make it 50 actually, just for the sake of a round number. What would actually happen here, right? So you're 25,000 since when? Right here says since 2022. August 30th, 2022 is the most recent iteration of these ETFs. So we can only go back that far. So in this situation, your 25 turns into 34. You've received $5,825 in total cash. Your NAV has gone up 34.69. Your total return is 62%, which is really great. And then you look down here, you can see your portfolio value. You can see what would happen just to your net asset value. But because of your actual reinvestment that you've done, you got the green line here, which means instead of going from 25 to 28, now you've gone from 25 up to 34. You can also see your monthly income. How stable is it? Not that stable, actually. You see some months here where income is down quite a bit, others where income is really high, and really what you seek is stability with that. So you can play around with the weightings on that to see that as well. And then you can see your net asset value here. You actually kind of already capture that. You can see the differences here in the annualized change and total NAV change. But really the biggest views here are the portfolio value and the monthly income. Last thing I want to share with you guys, really cool. And we will continue to iterate on this as we get more and more ETFs in the portfolio. But right now with 135, what we did is with the best performing portfolios section, we scroll up here to the top. What we did here is we took 25,000 random buy and hold portfolio combinations. And we looked at, like it says here, net asset value changes. We looked at all these different ETFs. The ones that are highlighted here are ones that are showing up in the top 25 in multiple timeframes, which is actually pretty cool. what we're doing here is at 25,000, and the portfolios can be anywhere between 4 and 8 ETFs. Okay, you got to have at least 4 and no more than 8. We can adjust on that or iterate if you feel like it's important. And no single ETF can be more than 25% of the portfolio, right? And then essentially it looks at all 25,000 combinations and it finds the best 25 for each year, okay, or each time frame, trailing 12 months, last 3 years, last 5 years, and last 10 years. So obviously we've got a ton of ETFs to choose from for trailing 12 months and not as many for the last 10 years. So if we look here, can see here, we'll look at, let's see here, total returns. Let's look at actually, we can sort by many of these, but let's just go ahead and start with trailing 12 months. And you can see here 124 ETFs that have at least 1+ years of history for this period. And let's say we're looking first off at income. Okay, top income source here. The number one ranked portfolio was here, was almost an equally, actually, no, it was 25% RDTY, 25% CHPY, 25% EGGY, 19% QQQY, and SVOL was 6%. And SVOL did pop up in multiple portfolios, which is pretty interesting. So that's income, but income doesn't necessarily mean it's the best situation for you because what if you have significant net asset value erosion? Like, for example, this one happens to have 13% net asset value growth, which is actually pretty good. It's also got a really strong Sharpe ratio and total returns of 36% with a average yield actually of 30.8%. So pretty amazing for this number one portfolio. But again, only the trailing 12 months. We might need more context here. But you can see all these different portfolios and how they grew. If you're looking for the best net asset value change, right? You can see that one right here, which was the number 3 ranking portfolio overall based on available income per $10,000. And you can see that was an equal weighting between OVL, RDTE, QQQY, and CHPY. Now, what you'll notice here as well, if we sort this based on net asset value change down here, some of these portfolios actually had a net asset value that went down over time. Those would be a little bit more concerning. Got right here, CHPY, RDTE, SPYI, and CRF. Now, it still had a total return of 34%, but there was some net asset value erosion. And you can sort up here, let's go to 5 years, let's say. Okay, so this is interesting. A lot of these were repeating. The best portfolio here for the 3-year time frame based on income, right? We're looking at income, is RYLD, SVOL, IGLD, and QYLG that had 1546, but there were some other ones that were really close here, 1505, 1480, 1475, etc. A lot more net asset value drops here, 27, 27, 26%. There were still total returns that were positive because they're pretty strong yields. But you can see here that you can build a portfolio that actually performs really well, and you can get that total return, also that net asset value growth, and really strong income for these average yields over this time frames for these different income ETFs. And then you can see 10-year, right? So there were 46 ETFs to choose from for last 5 years. For last 10 years, only 29 ETFs. The very best portfolio, best on total returns, was QYLD, ADX, WTPI, and CLM. That's a closed-end fund. But it also had a lower Sharpe ratio. If you were shooting for Sharpe ratio, actually it had the highest Sharpe ratio over 10 years. Total returns, though, 114.6%, really good. Net asset value, lots of drops here. Look at this one, QYLD, CRF, XYLD, and CLM had net asset value drops of 52.2%, even though total returns were 75%. What we might have to do in a future iteration is actually look at the portfolio balance, how it would have changed over this time frame. So really cool here, and this will continue to grow. We might add more simulations, and we're definitely going to add more income ETFs. If you've got specific ETFs you want to see that are not included here, and I'd have to go back and look at all of them, but you'll have to take a look here at the overall leaderboard, actually the ETF comparison. We've got funds from Amplify, Adams Funds, Illyrian, Cohen and Steers. We've got Cornerstone, Defiance, First Trust, Global X, Invesco, Curve, Neos, ProShares, Reeves, Rex, Roundhill, Tap Alpha, Yield Max. We've got a few Yield Max here. It's not a ton because we're not doing single stock ETFs, just FYI. A little too much concentration risk there. So if you want to see an ETF that you didn't see in this video, make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know, hey, I want to learn about or I want to see this ETF included, or I want to see this closed-end fund included as well. So I got for you guys. Again, if you want access to this website, you can get access. Just join the Average Joe Investor Option Income Academy on the school platform. link down in the description below. And make sure to leave your 2 cents down in the comments. I want to know what you guys think. What do you like about it? What are some additional feedback, some iterations you would do to make it the very best high yield income ETF dashboard available for average Joe income investors? That's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.